So Donald Trump has officially entered the 2024 U.S. presidential race after rife speculation for months. Many saw it coming, and he's confirmed this. Slamming the U.S. president, slamming Joe Biden, Trump said that the country suffered under Biden and 2 years have been a pain for the Americans. He also blamed Biden for the failing U.S. economy and vowed to make America great and glorious again, slightly tweaking his very famous coin statement. Now, the move was not welcomed by U.S. President Joe Biden as expected, who hit back and said Donald Trump totally and terribly failed America. Trump launched the bid a week after midterm elections in which Republicans failed to win as many seats in Congress as they had hoped. Trump will aim to become only the second commander-in-chief ever to be elected for 2 non-consecutive terms. It's not going to be, however, an easy or smooth run for the former president. There's another challenger within the Republican Party rising in the ranks. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis achieved a stunning victory in the U.S. midterm polls. While he's remained mum on his political future, he is no doubt a front-runner for the 2024 presidential bid, with some calling him Trump 2.0. So soon after Trump announced his presidency bid, you had Joe Biden Democrats all immediately countering Trump's claims against the Biden administration.
Under our leadership, we were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for quite a long period of time. We were a strong nation, and importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. Joe Biden has intentionally surrendered our energy independence. There is no longer even a thought of dominance, and we are now begging for energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is. We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come.
Nobody has ever done what we've done in the last 4 years.
Their entire economic plan, tax cuts for the rich and corporations.
And record-breaking unemployment.
The worst jobs report on record.
Trump is the only modern president to leave office with fewer jobs than when he took office.
The Trump administration formally asking the Supreme Court to overturn the Affordable Care Act. This could leave up to 23 million Americans without coverage.
I hope that they end. It'll be so good if they end.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion, yes or no?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
And if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons.
So Trump's message is make America great and glorious again. And we played out for you the video released by the Democrats in response to Trump's claims that Joe Biden has let down America and it's time to resurrect the country again. But is it going to be easy sailing for Donald Trump? I mentioned earlier that it's not going to be as smooth as last time around. Why is that? Because he faces a number of legal challenges as well. There are a number of controversies that he's found himself embroiled in, which have largely translated to legal issues for Donald Trump. And all of this will come to bite him in the back when he decides to formally run. He's announced his intentions, but there are a few more steps that need to be cleared. Let's begin with the first legal hurdle, the January 6th Capitol riots and Trump's alleged role, which is under investigation. So the House Select Committee investigating the U.S. Capitol attack has uncovered dramatic evidence of Trump's direct actions before and on the day on January 6th, especially efforts to use the government to actually overturn the election. So this is going to be a big hurdle for him. The second is the mar-a-lago FBI raids, where Trump allegedly took classified documents, prompting a raid by the FBI. The U.S. Justice Department investigation continues into whether documents from the Trump White House era were illegally mishandled when they were brought to his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida after he left office. So a federal grand jury in Washington has been empaneled, has interviewed potential witnesses as to how these documents were handled. Another legal hurdle is Trump Organization and prosecutors probing financial discrepancies within the many companies he owns. There's an ongoing trial in New York which involves also Trump's namesake business, which is the Trump Organization. Manhattan prosecutors told a jury that this case is about greed, it's about cheating, laying out an alleged 15-year scheme within the Trump Organization to pay high-level executives in perks. We're talking about luxury cars, we're talking about apartments without paying any taxes. Now, another controversy is, of course, the 2020 presidential elections, where Trump allegedly tried to overturn the results. We all spoke about this in great detail. It was discussed also on social media. There is actually a formal investigation by the Justice Department. They've started an investigation on their own into the post-2020 election period. Now, while the Department of Justice hasn't acted publicly during the so-called quiet period, which was leading up to the midterm elections, which ended just a few weeks ago, a grand jury in Washington has been hearing from witnesses. You've got, in fact, county and district attorneys, all of whom are involved, overseeing a special grand jury which is investigating what Trump, or for that matter his allies, may have done to actually overturn the victory that now President Joe Biden enjoyed in the 2020 elections. So these are all the legal hurdles. We all, of course, know that when Donald Trump was president, almost every single day we had one controversy or the other, many of which were comments that he'd made, some were issues that he got embroiled in, and especially during the COVID pandemic, particularly during the anti-racism protests. All of these were issues on which Trump made extremely controversial comments.
Donald Trump had a tumultuous time in the world's most coveted office, with presidency and controversies going hand in hand. Never seen before images played out in US Congressional Building at Capitol Hill after a dejected Trump, smarting under poll defeat, appealed supporters to march in.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore, and that's what this is all about.
Trump, who had a running feud with Twitter, earned a sweeping ban from virtually all leading social media sites after repeated claims of poll fraud and incitement of Capitol violence. Trump's Twitter account, the most followed one of a politician with over 88 million followers, was banned.
That Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to our country, and now I sadly, and with a heart broken over what this means to our country, of a president who would incite insurrection, will sign the engrossment of the article of impeachment.
Trump goes down in history as the first US president to be impeached twice by the House. The first impeachment was in December 2019 over Ukraine links. The second one was for links to Capitol siege on 6th January this year, only to reject it in trademark style.
On the impeachment, it's really a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in the history of politics. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This impeachment is causing tremendous anger, and you're doing it, and it's really a terrible thing that they're doing.
Black groups and protesters took to the streets over racism, upset over March 2020 police killing of 26-year-old Breonna Taylor in Louisville's West End and George Floyd in May. Violence broke out and lootings were reported as protesters clashed with the police in riot gear. Rarely seen in masks, downplaying the virus impact, fierce critique of lockdown. Trump's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic drew criticism as US raced ahead to become the world's worst hit country, with most number of deaths and impact on economy. Trump faced heat over numerous contacts between his 2016 campaign figures and Russians. Probe by Robert Mueller, the special counsel of Justice Department, showed Russian interference to discredit main opponent Hillary Clinton. All charges were summarily rejected by Trump. Trump's handling of immigrants and travel ban for several Muslim-majority nations drew criticism. Trump also restricted the H-1B visa through his America First policy.
There has been no collusion. I've done things wrong in my life.
Tension flared up with Iran after Trump red-flagged Tehran's nuclear program and decided for troop deployment. The eventual killing of Iranian Revolutionary Guard chief Qasem Soleimani made diplomatic ties take a nosedive. Bureau Report, India Today.
Lenka White is joining us this evening from Delaware in the United States. Lenka, good morning. Thank you for joining us here on India Today. We just played a report on all the controversies, all of the headlines that emerged when Trump was president. Are Americans willing to oversee all of that? I want to understand what is the sentiment, what has been the response so far to Trump announcing that he's going to be running in 2024?
Thank you for having me. Good morning or good evening to you. So, of course, it's been big news. All news media in the United States have reported about Trump wanting to be elected again. You know, he has said about 3 weeks ago that this is the date when he will announce it, and since then, people have been actually really, waiting for that. And many of them went to the U.S. midterm elections, which ended or which started last week, just because of that, because they didn't want ex-President Trump to actually run again and for the Democratic Party to actually win the Congress. So of course the sentiment is huge. People are impatient, and as you know, President Biden is expected to confirm his own candidacy at the end of the year during his Christmas vacation.
Is it going to be really smooth sailing for Trump, Lenka, because of one, the number of legal challenges, the cases that right now Trump is battling, and second, the fact that you have a very, very strong Republican contender right now in Ron DeSantis?
So that's correct. Definitely there are many legal sentences against Trump, and if you are watching the American TV all the time, you're actually hearing about Trump. When I'm watching the CNN, every evening I can see news about Trump. But there is also a sort of flip side to that, because he's bringing huge money for the media companies and for the TV, because people just want to know what is going on with him, even though they are his, they are not in favor of him. They still want to know what is going on with him, and that's why we didn't forget him these past few years. On the other hand, people still kept him in mind very, very strongly.
All right, Lenka, let's see how this plays out, and he's clearly made the 2024 battle very, very interesting. Thanks very much for taking the time out and joining us from Delaware. Always a pleasure to have you with us here on India Today, Lenka.